Alexandra, and welcome to, I have a pleasure to interview Ferrara, the YERME board member. Welcome, Francesca.
Thank you, Dorota.
So, thank you very much for accepting our invitation for this interview. This interview has an aim to learn more about the members of the YERME board and to insights to the both young but also senior members of the ERME community about your career, your work in mathematics education research. So we will start with a short going back in the past and begin talk about your career path. You are an associate professor in Italy, and we will begin with a journey of a PhD scholarship, which you have been doing during the period of 2001 and 2005. You've been a PhD student at Doctoral School in Science and Higher Education at the University of Torino, and the thesis type has been acting and interacting with tools to understand calculus concept. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Great. We will probably go back a bit to the topic during the interview, but let's see little on your career path, because I think that usually gives us kind of insights into the work and to the system in Italy. So after your PhD study, in the period of 2005 to 2014, you have been working at the Department of Mathematics at the University of Torino. And then during that period of, 9 years, you have been also visiting scholar at a couple of universities. And we'll probably go back to this because I am a bit curious about this journey. So you have been visiting scholar at the Manchester Metropolitan University in United Kingdom. You also been in San Diego State University in United States, Simon Fraser University in Canada, and TRRC in Cambridge in United States, and then the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth in United States. And since 2014, and that will be about 9 years, you are, and until present, you are the associate professor at the Department of Mathematics at the University of Torino. So you've been working there for quite a significant amount of years. And then in 2017, you have been gotten a national qualification for a full professorship. Can you tell us a little about it so we do understand? What does that mean?
Yeah, sure. Because in the Italian system, since 2012, for becoming associate professor or full professor at the university, you need to take this national qualification. That is a sort of qualification that tells you that you are ready for becoming a professor at the university at the two different levels. And there is a national committee which is working every 2 or 3 years, depending on the groups. But in the last times, it's 3 years that this national committee is working on this national qualification and is made of full professors. Not necessarily in our field, in our restricted field, but in scientific sectors defined by the Italian law and the Italian Minister of Research. And for example, at the moment, we as math educators are together with historians of mathematics and also logicians. So we are valued in terms of this national qualification from a committee that can be composed by professors with different expertise in terms of their field of research and of knowledge. So that's it. We cannot take part in any application for a full professorship without having this national qualification.
Okay. So that is an external evaluation of the work you have through the different guidelines as you provided for us. And thank you very much, because I think that by knowing that, we also do get a very good insights into how the society and the research and the university work might be different in different countries, and that is how it is. We do work different contexts and in different educational systems and in different career paths. And France, for example, they have habilitation exams or habilitations committee that also might be then is required in as a part of the career path. So thank you for giving more insights into what does that really mean.
Sure.
And congratulations, because
Thank you.
That is the most important. And since 2019, you are a board member of the European Research Society Education, but you are not only working at the university, don't you? You're also having a lot of different kind of commitments and work you are doing. And one of them, and I know that you have a couple of different work and rules, but one of them is that you are a member of the editorial board of the Research in Mathematics Education and of the advisory board of the Impact book series, Intervening Mathematics, Pedagogy and Content for Teaching. You are also has been a member of the thematic study group 60 at the semiotics in mathematics education at ERME 14 in 2021. And wasn't that one partly online and partly present in?
Yes, it was online.
Shanghai or Singapore? Remind me. Was it Shanghai?
It was Shanghai. Yeah.
Yes. And then you also are been involved in a topic study group 41, use of technology in primary mathematics education up to age 10 at ERME 13 in 2016. And one other thing you are also been working with is that in 2018 you've been a leader of a working group on instruments and the body at a PME 43 conference. And when it comes to a YERME Congress, in which thematic working group you usually joining?
Well, I have been joining different thematic groups in the course of the years, because my first YERME conference was in 2003, when when the conference was held in Verbania, which is a very little town close to a lake in Italy. So that was my very first YERME conference. And at that point, I was in a group that was reasoning about metaphorical. There was a specific group about that. Then I moved to the geometrical thinking group at a certain point in the next years. Then I got interested in two different groups. One was about algebraic thinking, TVG4, and the other one is the theoretical perspectives group, which was TVG17, and I took part in both of them because I had two different presentations in these two different topic study group in Hamburg. In Utrecht. which were held the same year in which I was elected, by the way, in the ERME board.
Yes.
And in the last times, I got interested in the TVG 24, the representational thinking group. And this year, the last year, I was a part of the embodiment and material practices group, which was a very new group.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So I had.
So you've been there, and you got a broader perspective on different thematic groups during the congresses, and which we also can see on the work you are also doing as a board member in different conferences and in different topics groups. So before we move forward, how was your time as a visiting scholar? For how many years have you been doing this?
Well, some of my visitings were during the PhD. I was at Turk and at the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth during the third year of my PhD. It was between the end of 2003 and May 2000. Then I went back to Turk in Cambridge one year after, so in 2005 in April. And instead, I was visiting Simon Fraser University in Burnaby in Canada, the Faculty of Education, for working with Natalie Sinclair in 2013 for more or less 3 months. I have been visiting just for 2 weeks San Diego State University in the February of 2016, if I remember well. And in the last years, I had many different visits at Manchester Metropolitan University because 2 of my international collaborations involve Riccardo Nemirovsky and Elizabeth De Freitas, who were for a certain period both at Manchester Metropolitan University. So I got a sabbatical in 2020, the year of COVID, of the pandemic, when I was supposed to visit Manchester, and I was there for 1 month, but then I couldn't do all the other visits. So I was supposed also to go back to Simon Fraser, but I couldn't.
No. Close some opportunity for us, but also at some points also open windows of opportunities that we can find different ways of collaborating.
Right.
Thank you, Francesca, for. I know that it is just a small summary of your career path. So I think when we go to the next part of the interview, we will also possibly go back in time to different places. So let's move to. Oh, I forgot one thing also, that you are also a member of ICMT scientific committees for a quite long period of time. Yes, so this little thing we forgot, or I forgot. So let's move on. We will go to a couple of questions that we have prepared, and we call that part of the interview as your current work as mathematics education researcher, where we will touch upon different parts of your work as in the field. So let us go to the first question. So, Francesca, what motivated you to become a mathematics education researcher? How did it all started?
Yeah, everything started from my first encounter with a university course in mathematics education, and especially the passion that I was feeling from the teacher of of that course. It was also the very first time for me I felt really passionate during my mathematics degree courses. Since the starting of my university courses, I lose a little bit the passion for mathematics, because the mathematics that I was encountering at the university was very different from how I was expecting it. And this was really the first time I felt again passionate. So I fell in love with the topic of that course, which made me more and more curious, especially about the processes involved in teaching and learning, and the ways in which we can at least try to understand them.
Okay, so that was when you were studying to become a teacher?
I was studying to become a mathematician, and I was choosing to follow some courses about becoming a mathematics teacher, of course.
So if someone would like you to ask you, Francesca, can you please shortly describe area of your research? We already heard a couple of keywords from the work you are engaged with. So give us a little more description on your research, on the area.
Yeah, of course. My research area is mathematics education, for sure, with a focus on mathematics teaching and learning processes, including especially the role of the body, the role of diagrams, and the role of technologies in the mathematics classroom. And I've always been interested also in mathematical imagination as a process that crosses all these elements, body, diagrams, and technology use. And recently, I've also become interested in assessment, large-scale assessment, and its possible relationships with mathematics education research. Especially how can we use, for example, qualitative methods to speak also about assessment in mathematics. And in this context, another point that is a crucial point of interest for me is that of the methodological issues, which I think it's a delicate part of all this discourse.
And the area of your research where you are conducting your studies in, how old are the students, or is on what level of the, are you so
I study usually students at different ages, from kindergarten even to university.
Great.
So yeah, I mean, I'm interested in the very young students more than in the very old, but I had different kinds of studies and interests towards different ages also.
Yes, thank you for this insight. So one could say that the focus of the area of your research is across the different stages of the pupils and the children, and then later students' use of the tools, but also this what you mentioned earlier with the methodological issues and circumstances and so on in teaching and learning of mathematics. Is it that summarized? Yeah. Thank you. So give us about your work. So what do you enjoy the most in work?
Well,
what is the best?
Yeah, this is easy.
This is easy, yeah.
Yeah. What I enjoy the most is writing articles, even if I'm not a native speaker, native English speaker, but I really enjoy writing articles, and also designing experiments, which I also love to conduct when I can personally be in the classroom at any grade. So these are the two most enjoyable things of my work.
That's great. I think that with the a smile in your face, that writing articles, and I think for me this is you enjoying to share the knowledge you have what you learn by conducting a research, because that is what we do when we write articles, isn't it? That what we actually learn we share with the community. Yeah. And thank this answer, because that is actually encouraging. It is lovely to write articles, even if this is very hard job. I think we all would say that, but that is something to enjoy.
Yeah, perfectly agree. It is enjoyable, and I think it's also a way in which you can be yourself in writing. You can put yourself in writing, so you can make choices in how you write things, of course, for communicating to others. But that's a relevant part of writing articles, I believe.
And I think one of the also other parts, if you might disagree with that, while you're sharing also your knowledge, because you're coming with new knowledge by conducting a research. So I think that out is very important. That someone else can read and enjoy the knowledge created stuff. So you said that this one was the easy one. So probably there's the one less easy. So what do you enjoy the least about your work? What isn't?
Sorry.
Please.
What I enjoy the least, perhaps, is the revision of articles. So making the revisions of the revision of articles, but also dealing with my own revision of the submitted articles, because it's something that requires, I think, a lot of energy and commitment on my part. And thinking of my role as a member of the university staff, I do not like at all institutional duties.
Yeah, but at the end, even if revising the articles you've been writing is taking a lot of energy and time and all that, at the end it is maybe turning back to the part I enjoying writing an article.
Yeah, for sure.
and sharing.
Yeah, it is worthwhile, because it always the result is always that your paper comes out improved somehow. So
yes, in the end it's changed it changed that direction, which not necessarily beginning is recognized at it, but when we look with it on the perspective, hopefully the provided reviews being constructive in a way that it can turn over to I enjoying writing articles. Yes. So thank you for this part. So from your current, we will go to based on your experiences part. So this is the second part of our interview and the questions we prepared. So which advice was or would have been helpful at the beginning of your career? What would you like to have heard from maybe your supervisor or other experienced researchers when you began your career in mathematics education?
I think it would have been helpful a phrase like cultivate your passions and believe in yourself.
Cultivate your passion. I like that expression.
Yeah.
Would you like to say a bit more about it? What do you think was that important to hear?
Well,
and if I understand it, then is to hear it that someone repeats that for you, because you might forget them? Or
I think our work is so fascinating, but also full of commitments. So I think sometimes you need to refresh somehow your passionate view of mathematics education and mathematics education research. So because I think that more and more you go on in being, for example, part of the university staff, you get a lot of duties and things that are somehow taking time out of the time you usually use for research. And I think it's always important to remember ourselves, or myself, that for me, making research in math education is also a passion. So as I said before, I was very passionate when I met one person that was transmitting and passion again during my university courses. So that was an important ingredient of my choice to become a math educator or a mathematics education researcher. Yeah.
Yes, I think that is a great advice. So remember where you stand on, and remember where is your passion. Thank you for this insight.
Sure.
So, is there anything what would be your advice or suggestions you always give to postgraduate students or students that you are mentoring? What is the most important advice suggestion to give?
Well, I always say when I can, don't be afraid to be and express yourself. This is the very first thing, perhaps the most important, but also there is a second suggestion or advice, which is study and read as much as you can, because this will help you maintain your freedom of thought, choose your directions, and also nurture your enthusiasm. I think.
Yeah. So if I might think about regards to the advices you got yourself at the beginning of your career, it kind of follows with you to what the advices you're giving now the young researchers.
Right.
Is that how I understand that? So you're kind of passing it forward to the future generation that actually keep in mind your own passion, keep in mind the passion you have, but also that learning and reading will support you in that passion you might I hope we have for the mathematics education, and this is the difficult English pronunciation that you nurture for yourself. So that I think is some kind of connections from the advice you have been wanted to get to, which one you follow back. So thank you very much. So now we go in a little more based on your experience, and this question is linked to we asking you to name 3 articles or books that you think that every researcher in mathematics should read, or tell us a little about it. Why do you think something you read and you think is made impact on you and supported you or give you directions? Or please share with us.
Yeah, I think more than 3, but
Oh.
but let's say if I have to remain with 3, let's say, okay, the first book I will suggest is Where Mathematics Comes From by George Lakoff and Rafael Núñez. This is a book which came out in 2000. And the choice is because the role of embodiment and the body in mathematics is a hot topic in our field, with still many possibilities for development. And in my feeling, this book has had a great influence on our field. It opened up a lot of connections, but also new lines of light, for example, through the study of gestures and movement. So I think everybody should be aware of its content and its importance and how relevant it became for mathematics education in the years. Even if embodiment and the studies of the body have had new developments in very recent years. It's always important to go back to the origin of some turn or some great change that took place in the past. And I think this book was relevant in these terms.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first. Then as a second, I think I will suggest to read the book by Alan Schoenfield that came out in 1985. It's an old book and it's entitled Mathematical Problem Solving. And when I read it, I always have the same feeling. It's an exciting book because I feel it very useful for better understanding the nature of mathematical thinking, but also like thinking of problem solving as a real competence instead of as a set of skills. And what I also like of this book is the great attention to the metacognitive dimension, which is quite deeply discussed and presented and somehow defined through different aspects of thinking. Because I think that the metacognitive dimension is very relevant to the construction of critical thinking and meaning making in mathematics, which I feel has a very urgent issue still today, but sometimes forgotten. So I think the book gives a flavor of also how much important the metacognitive dimension is in relation to discourses about problem solving. And the last title relates to a famous article written by Abraham Arkavi for the Learning of Mathematics. This article was published in 1994 and it's entitled Symbol Sense. And I like it a lot, and I think it's relevant because, as far as I know, studies in mathematics education defines in mathematical terms. I know the ideas of numbers sense and graph sense beyond the symbol sense. But this article is still one of my favorite today because it offers an opportunity to reflect what it means to possess symbol sense in a set of concrete situations that are involving symbols, and also trying to grasp how this sense may or may not emerge from the students' behaviors, from the ways in which the students are reasoning or solving the situations at hand. There is an additional aspect to this choice. I think that sense, at least to me, has also to do with the senses and the sensible, and to what is accepted as having or making sense, I think. So talking about sense is also a political issue has also political implications. So I think it raises a lot of questions and open problems.
It does. When you were talking, I was thinking it really comes a lot of questions in my mind in regard to the just to the notion of sense, and in regards to not just in but like you said, one implication or one way of thinking is also into the politics. So it really this might be something go to read. So for the learning of mathematics from 1994, the symbol sense of people is something to I very much also appreciate that you mentioned I'm going back to reading it. So my understanding is that you basically you're going back to that, even if you read it before, you're still going back to it because it might open up some new spaces by reading the literature again. And I think that is a good, important insight for all of us who listen and watch that interview, that it makes sense to go back and read again something we read before.
I think so. Yeah, if I can just give you a feedback about this thought, which I think is really important. I'm not the same person I was when I read an article or a book the first time. I got some experience, I changed myself, I have a lot of relationships are also changing who I am and my work. So I think it's important to go back because you read the things in a different way and as a person.
Right, you're right. We are different experiences with us, different backpack to carry when we go back to something. It's always the content in the backpack is and evolving and expanding, or maybe in some parts we change the way we understand something. So thank you for this comments, because it really highlighted your reason for going back and reading again, and I appreciate this. So did you have a fourth idea for a book or article you would like to share, or is it okay with 3? Is there some more you had? I also would like, but probably there's more. But if you have a number 4 you would like to share, you are very welcome, Francesca.
Well, I would say Math and the Body, but just something that relates to my interests. So perhaps and also because it's a new book that I think will make some difference in some decades, will be cited a lot. But yeah,
what you said,
I think I will stop with 3.
Okay, we are very, very grateful for those insights. So in your opinion, and of course we that on your opinion, we're not very much into what might not be, but in your opinion, from your perspective, what are the key topics and challenges for the future in research in education, and especially in math education? What do you think might be the topics or challenges that we are facing?
Certainly, the issue of sustainable development and how mathematics education can be central to this. So not sustainable development alone, but in its relationships with mathematics education. But I believe that the role of bodily activity, feelings, and emotion, putting students at the center, also deserve a place among the key topics. It will become, I think, more and more relevant to our research. And also, I think the relationship between artificial intelligence or machine learning and mathematics education, which are already starting to be a focus of interest, of new lines of life. And I think that it is important to also mention the methodological discourse, because I think that with all the new developments, but also new problems related to, for example, climate change, sustainable development, and so on, but also gender equity or inequitable education. The methodological discourse will face challenge in all these directions. So we will need new and also effective ways, I think, both to express and to communicate our research findings.
Yes. That as you say, it's there's a lot of layers or levels of things that might interrelate, but also be challenges for the future of research in education. And I also hear from listening to you that the methodological issues or the discourses into the methodological choices or what we research on is something that you work with, because you began with it at the beginning and is always coming back in your reflections when you ask the questions. And so as I understand that is a significant part of what you've been working with, but also so it brings you further in the research education. Isn't that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I can add also something, I think in the way we research or we make math education research, there is always a relationship with the data that we have, which determines the choices that we make. So if we don't speak of the methodology explicitly, I think that it's always present, and that's why it's so pregnant in what I'm saying and also in what I'm thinking, of course.
Yeah, and once again, I am thankful and appreciate your commitment to some questions and issues that we encounter, and as you say that the methodology, but also the data that we are choosing or not choosing, or where and how the empirical data is collected and how is it analyzed and through which theoretical lenses and so on. And I just think in regards to myself, I am in an early years mathematics education research, and just a week ago or two actually publish an article about the methodological choices we are doing in early mathematics education research, and which we are not doing, what we are not choosing to do. And that might have consequences, as you are saying, in regards to the future in mathematics and in education. What are we choosing to not choose to research on, and what are the stands for it? And that might be an important question to ask ourselves as researchers in math education. So even if the interview is more about your work as a researcher in math education, I still kind of felt I have to draw this parallel to my own work and the latest publication, that the methodological discourses are very important.
Yeah, for sure.
Reflect on and to ask those critical questions as researchers, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I perfectly agree. It's the sort of meta reflection on what we do.
Yes, thank you, Francesca, for this reflection. So if we go back just 6 months in time, then we've been somewhere before the summer. So what is your biggest takeaway or learning from the past 6 months? Can be work, but don't have to be.
Well, it can be work related or not. But my answer to this question is that it's not so important to please everyone. The most important thing is to be happy and satisfied with yourself.
That is, thank you. That is a very encouraging and positive answer. Once again, going back to the be with your what you are passionate about in the research, and that must be the good takeaway. Thank you.
Sure.
So we bring ourselves to the last part of the interview, and we call that a little from the private corner. So we learned about your research interest, the area of research and we also learned about things that are based on your experience, the advices, the takeaways. So just a bit about the private corner. So how do you spend your time outside work? You hopefully not working always.
No.
How you spend your time?
Fortunately, I'm not working all the time. Well, mostly by running, making exercise, or by going out with friends, for example, to dinner or to the movie theater, to the cinema.
And what films are you watching then?
Oh,
and a special genre?
No,
or just
I like
most
both
for the fun?
dramatic comedies, also cartoons sometimes. I also like to go watching cartoons. Yeah, if they are very well designed, I like them so much. So I'm open.
Right. So a little tricky question. So when was the last time you did something for the first time?
Oh, this is a difficult question. When
It
was the
can
last
be
time
you did something for the first time? So you did something not so long time ago, and that is something you did it first time in your life. What was that?
Yeah, it was last December. Yeah, it was. It's not work related. It's health related because I had a problem. I had some pain in a leg, and I couldn't run as I wanted. So I decided to go to an, I don't know the right name in English, osteopath.
Yes, yeah, I understand. I think this is quite Latin, so we stay there. Yeah,
Okay.
You went to some specialist,
right? Yeah,
isn't it?
but yeah, which is a specialist that also touches the psychological side. It's not only that it touches
Not
the bodily side.
the muscles and the bones, yeah.
It works a lot with your body, but also touches the psychological side. So it was a surprising experience, and I was a little bit suspicious before going. So last December was my first time for this experience, and in the end, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's great, because often if we do something for the first time, it might repeat. Thank you for sharing that. That is bringing us to our last part or last question. Is there anything else you would like to share with the young researchers community before we?
Yeah, I think that I only want to add that collaboration, not only national, but especially international collaboration, is very important ingredient to enrich the experience as a researcher, and I think also to keep an open and a lively mind. So I will say everybody experience
yes, and grab the opportunity for the international collaboration. And I think also that the YERME interview series actually is a part of getting insight into international perspectives outside countries we are living in and we are working in. So thank you very much, Francesca, for this. And on behalf of myself and the representative of young researchers, Dylan and Luca, I would like to say thank you very much for your time and willingness to answer to all those questions, and for your time to be here, and also for the time for preparing that interview and answer to all those questions from your work to your experienced corner of Francesca Ferrara. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you to you all for wanting to have me here for this interview. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, and bye-bye.